Now,
John.
I'm asking my colleague, thank you, Mr. Ambassador, to also ask some of the questions.
What directions seem most promising for Jordan's future economic development? The agriculture sector is very small, as is the manufacturing sector. Much of the economy depends on services. What combination seems to be viable for the future? What role does its aquifer play? All the above.
Yeah, what a question, Catherine. All right, it's one I think needs to put the Middle East into perspective. I often, when I sit with my colleagues from the Middle East and we're alone, we immediately start sort of whining about the state of our region. It's almost common. I mean, it's perhaps a Mediterranean thing more than an Arab thing. It's the olive oil and the thyme and garlic that makes it so. But we start to complain about everything. We complain about ourselves. We complain about parts of our culture. We complain about why it is that we're not more advanced than we should be. We turn it into sort of comic relief often when pointing out the shortcomings within our own societies. And then we travel. And then we travel. And then we go to other parts of the world. And we notice that, well, many problems are the same, if not worse, in other parts of the world. And so maybe we just need to accept the fact that we are societies in transition. We have much to be proud about. We have in Jordan, as we have in other Arab countries, a very vibrant private sector. When we look at ICT, we have two companies that have made headlines. One that was sold to Yahoo for $200 million. It was a very simple startup when it first began a few years ago, Al Maktoub, which is sort of like an Arabic browser service. And the other one was similar to sort of Twitter, to Whatwhat. It's also made headlines in that it can corral a huge amount of support for a particular humanitarian endeavor. And so this is demonstrative of the power that, in particular, our youth are able to marshal in support of particular ideas. And I think we have provided the opportunities for them to do so. We nevertheless feel that, notwithstanding the high rates of growth we've had in recent years, up to 8% for more or less every year, up until last year, where the reduction in FDIs and the global economic slowdown has affected us. So our growth was reduced to about 2.7%. We expect it to climb closer to 5%. Notwithstanding this, I think economic activity continues sort of to be active. We continue to see a lot of interest in investments in Jordan, and that sort of fills us with hope.
Okay. Here's a quite different one. How should the deep divide between Fatah on the West Bank and Hamas in Gaza be dealt with? How can one reasonably expect meaningful, enduring success in the process to occur when one major party to the conflict is not dealt with? Is one serious or not? Is one to be inclusive or exclusive in terms of dealing with all the parties to the conflict?
Yeah, this is a question really for Ambassador Shukri. He's the expert here and would provide you. One of my reactions to this sort of question, and you hear it often in Washington. Washington is an amazing city because there are certain taboo subjects you simply can't discuss. And there are other subjects which are so popular, and this is one of the frequent questions. How can the Palestinians cope if they are divided? And it forces one to think, well, are they so exceptional? The Middle East is desperately divided. Even Europe is divided on so many crucial issues. The United States itself is divided on so many crucial issues. I think we have to be careful not to take a patronizing tone with them. They are people who have a a constellation of different views. I think the Egyptian government must be praised for wasting and sparing no effort to try and bring the two sides together. Eventually, they may well succeed. We hope that they succeed, the Palestinians, in sorting out their differences. But is it so exceptional that we must place it high upon the issues that require urgent treatment? I think we, as a people more generally, I mean, when you look at the planet, one can remark that if you took a treaty negotiated, an international treaty negotiated in the immediate aftermath of the Second World War, and tried to negotiate exactly those same terms today, you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. You couldn't take the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and negotiate its terms today. You couldn't take the Torture Convention or the Refugee Convention, the 1951 Convention, and do it. So what does it tell you? It tells you that we simply are unable to work together in the way that we once used to work together. And we need to find the formula to make it work again. So, within societies and between societies, there is much work that needs to be done.
Another question. Water is a crucial component of Jordan's future development, yet water supplies continue to dwindle. How does Jordan anticipate dealing with its vital need for water? Can new agreements be reached on water sharing arrangements? Is the Red Sea, Dead Sea Canal a real possibility?
Yeah.
Can desalination, what's going on with desalination?
Yeah, of course, this is a problem that's severe in our region. If one considers that the average per capita usage by an American per annum of water is about 9,000 cubic meters, the poverty standard is 1,000 cubic meters a year per capita. And in Jordan, our usage is 150 cubic meters a year. So we are, of course, very vulnerable to fluctuations in the weather where water is concerned. We have a large aquifer in the south that we're tapping, but clearly we need to work on desalination in a very major way if we are to meet the demands of our population. And I think all of us in the region need to redouble our efforts in this area because it is one of major concern to us.
Where does Jordan see itself and its place in the Middle East security scenarios now and in the next 2 to 5 years, inclusive of its relationship with the United States, its relationship with Israel, and its relationship to the issue regarding Iran's nuclear development?
Yeah, look, it's very clear in my mind that while we can anticipate broad trajectories, if you were in Europe in the late 1920s, early 1930s, you could sense that Europe was in very big trouble. You didn't really know how it was all going to unfold. And in the Middle East, we believe that unless arrested quickly, these crises will fold into something beyond our ability to control. But at the same time, we have to appreciate how difficult it is for us to read the script of unfolding events. We simply are unable to do this with a level of accuracy that inspires confidence. And if we cannot understand the present, because you cannot marshal all the variables, and you don't know which variable will be the key variable in any moment in time. Is it a collision of a circumstance, a decision by a particular person, an event that was unanticipated? And so we find it difficult to know the present. And by extrapolation then, it's almost impossible for us to understand where we can be or where we will be in 5 to 10 years. I think we have to invest very much in pointing ourselves toward a future, realizing that we are, like many other countries, a developing country. We're faced with the challenges that affect a developing country. We're essentially a tribal society that over the course of 80 years has tried to detribalize, largely successfully, but sometimes we face problems that are connected to that. And we want to preserve many of our tribal traditions, but not at the expense of the state itself. And here we have to be very careful. So I think I would like to think that we have a vision. We have, of course, been extremely fortunate in having the benefit of this extraordinary leadership on the part of His Majesty King Abdullah II, following on from His late Majesty King Hussein. And so we place our trust in their aspirations and the aspirations of the Jordanian people generally.
What role is Jordan taking to help the Palestinians establish a fully functioning Palestinian state?
Well, the most apparent role is the training of their police and security forces. And I think by all measure it's been a successful exercise. And we are working very closely with President Mahmoud Abbas on that score. We are fully supportive of the efforts also of Prime Minister Salam Fayyad. And I think we are joined, and we join the wider international community. It was, of course, heartening to see the quartet in their statement issued in Moscow recently that his program has now been elevated to that where the international community fully supports the passion and the attempt now by the Palestinian authorities to raise the standard and the infrastructure of their own economy such that they would be in a position to exercise full responsibility as an independent state when and such a time arrives.
As the United States proceeds to draw down its armed forces presence in neighboring Iraq, what are Jordan's concerns and needs and assessments of the implications of this drawdown for Jordan's own foreign policy interest and objectives?
How many people did you say, John, are watching this particular? All right.
C-SPAN is viewed by millions.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Look, you know, this is one of the fundamental quandaries that faces any post-conflict situation. You know, how do you extract the international community out of a situation which for a long time has depended on the material presence of that international effort? And I think it has to be done judiciously. It has to be done carefully. Naturally, you want to see Iraq, we all want to see Iraq free of foreign forces and sort of pernicious influences from the outside. But one also understands that the Iraqi government itself, you know, has a say in this, and they should be heard. If they believe that more time is required, I think the U.S. would probably be understanding of that. But it's a very delicate exercise, and I think thus far it's been handled very well.
You mentioned Jordan's support for President Obama's approach on reaching a settlement in the Middle East, but you did not explicitly support or say that you supported the Saudi plan for settlement. Could you comment on the Saudi plan and whether it provides a real basis for peace?
Yeah. Well, I maybe didn't explicitly say something because we have been supporting the plan put forward by His Majesty King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia in 2002 when he was then the Crown Prince. It was known as the Saudi Peace Initiative and then became the Arab Peace Initiative at the Beirut summit.